Hi, friends. This is Dr. Arpita Gupta Dipalma, and you're listening to my podcast, From Pissed Off to Poised. This show is for busy women physicians and professionals just like you who are ready to take control of their emotions while learning how to excel in juggling all the things they are responsible for in life. It's for overextended mamas who are trying to figure out how to work smarter, not harder. It's for multitasking women who are tired of playing the role of the angry and resentful air traffic controller, who simply want to learn how to create a life that is more calm, intentional, and joyful for themselves. My goal is to help you learn how to eliminate the overwhelm and maintain your composure in high-stress situations that you face with the demands in your day-to-day life. Because I get you guys, this was totally me. You are not alone. I invite you to embark on your journey of transformation with me. Enjoy the listen. Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of From Pissed Off to Poised. Today, we're diving into a question that I hear a lot. How do you know if you're just being lazy versus truly allowing yourself to rest? Okay, do any of you guys wonder that sometimes? Am I really just kind of, being a slacker here versus, okay, I really need the rest right now? Because honestly, if we think about it, oftentimes we convince ourselves we're resting when we're actually avoiding something uncomfortable. And yet other times we beat ourselves up for taking a break when we actually need it. Rest and laziness may look similar on the surface, but they serve two completely different purposes. One recharges you so you can perform at your best level, and the other one holds you back from the life that you want. So today we're going to unpack this together. And I'm going to help you figure out how to strike the right balance and how to figure it out when you're being lazy versus actually resting. All right, so here we go. Laziness versus rest. So what is the difference? Laziness gets in the way of our goals. It feels comfortable. It feels cozy. Yes, it does, but only because it allows us to avoid the discomfort of our accountability. It's a false sense of ease because in reality, it's keeping us stuck. It's keeping us stagnant. It's preventing us from moving forward. So that's laziness. Now, rest, on the other hand, it's intentional. It's what allows us to show up fully and to perform at our highest level. It's a necessary part of success. And the key here to knowing the difference, it all comes down to when you're resting and why. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can notice the signs of if you're leaning towards laziness rather than rest. So number one, if you're taking a lot of downtime, but not actually seeing the results that you want, you're probably leaning towards laziness. And this is, i.e., you're resting all the time, but you're not making progress. This is when it's worth questioning whether you're actually just avoiding the discomfort, what that discomfort is, and if so, why you're avoiding it. Another sign that you're leaning towards laziness is that you're feeling guilty about the rest that you're doing because deep down, if you're really honest with yourself, you know you're procrastinating. True rest feels refreshing. It feels easeful and needed. Laziness, on the other hand, often comes with the feelings of guilt or anxiety about what you should be doing. And I know I talk a lot about the should word, but in this case, what I'm referring to is the things that you need to be doing to be able to move forward. And lastly, think about if you're leaning towards laziness, if you're not getting things done in the time that you've allotted to do them. Okay. So if you're consistently not following through on your own timelines, if you're always late, if you're not meeting the deadlines, I want you to ask yourself, am I really giving my best effort? So if any of these three tendencies tend to hit home, I want you to take a step back and ask yourself, what am I really avoiding here or not wanting to face? Are you doubting your ability to succeed in whatever goal you're putting off? Are you afraid of failure? Are you telling yourself, what's the point? Are you making the obstacles that you perceive to be in your path really a lot bigger than they actually are? When you can identify what's holding you back from moving forward or getting started, you can actually address it head on instead of using the laziness as the buffer. So shifting out of laziness and into action, how do we do this? Well, the first step, obviously, is catching yourself and the fact that you're doing it, right? Noticing and having the awareness that you might be being lazy here. So, what next? What after that, once you've built that awareness? The first thing I suggest you do is just acknowledge the resistance that you're having. Instead of shaming yourself or beating yourself up, I want you to instead get curious. What is the discomfort you're trying to avoid? That's what I mean by that. What are you trying to not feel by shifting into that laziness mode instead? Okay, because right now that feels more comfortable than doing whatever task or goal at hand that you're trying to reach. Next, I want you to process the fear or doubt that you might be having regarding this goal or task. Give yourself a moment to really just feel it. And then remind yourself, I don't have to want to do this. I just need to do it. This is where we then want to pull out of our back pocket this compelling why that we had. This is where it comes in handy, right? Because when we have that compelling why, it helps drive us. It helps push us through the resistance of these times that we face when we don't really feel like doing things. All right. And then next, I want you to consider how you can take maybe one small step towards your end goal. This action, even though it's so seemingly small, actually kills the laziness, even if it's just 5 minutes of your effort. Getting started is usually the hardest part. So, can you create small, actionable do goals, even if it means that you're just chunking your tasks into 5 or 10-minute blocks just so that you can get started? Oftentimes, when we get started, we realize and take notice of the stories that we had that we were thinking and creating for ourselves that were keeping us from starting. And we start to notice that these stories were really very untrue or maybe not as bad as we initially made them out to be. The more you practice noticing the resistance that you're having and allowing yourself to feel it and be present with it, and then having compassion for yourself to be able to start small, the easier it gets. And over time, you'll start proving to yourself that you are someone who follows through with your word in doing what you've committed to do and doing what you said you're going to do. So I want to shift now into rest, like the importance of having intentional rest built into your life, into your schedule. All right, because this is just as important as taking action. And it's really, really easy to not think that we need to rest because we get stuck in that day-to-day go, go, go mode. Resting after you've produced the results from being in the go, go, go mode is different from resting instead of producing results. Resting instead of producing results is the laziness that we talked about, obviously. Resting after you've produced your results or in the process of creating these results is what allows you to recharge so you can continue to show up as your best self so that you can keep on going. You can do more of the same tasks to get to your goal or go and create the next goal that you want to achieve. I think most of us fall into the category of not wanting to rest because we're afraid it's going to make us look like we're lazy to other people. Or we feel like we have to keep going until it's all done before we have earned the time to rest. Or we simply don't understand what rest means because we've never done it before. And in our reality, rest is not okay when you have to work. This is where the shift needs to be. This is where the first step is recognizing that rest is a part of your work. Because if you don't build that in, it's not going to happen and you are not going to be able to reach your full potential. If you can shift your mindset to start believing that rest is part of work and that's how I'm going to build it into my life so that I can show up with my full potential each day, it really begins to make a shift. This is where we begin to recognize that self-care and rest aren't a luxury. They are necessities. And yet so many of us treat it as an afterthought. We squeeze it in when there's extra time, which let's be real, it almost never happens. And this goes back to that arrival fallacy concept of I'm going to celebrate or rest when I've achieved the goal or I finished the to-do list or whatever it is. And even when this when happens, when you finish the list or reach the goal, most of the time we tend to just move right on to the next thing without the celebration of our accomplishment or without the adequate rest time built in. So instead, what if you prioritized rest into your schedule first? Each week when you're doing Thursday timeout, You are building that in to make it very intentionally there, part of your day-to-day life. So how do we build it in? You simply schedule it in, guys. Okay. Just like you schedule in your meetings and your deadlines, I want you to block off your me time in your calendar and make it non-negotiable. So set the do not disturb on your phone an hour before your goal time to be in bed so that you're giving yourself space to wind down without all the external interruptions. This is a gift. There is no need to respond to texts and interact an hour before your bedtime. It's okay. It will be there the next day. You can commit to 1 additional hour of sleep each night to what you're currently doing. Okay. And so this is where I think a lot of times people get stuck because they look at what they're currently doing. They might be doing 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. And they're like, okay, ideally I'm supposed to be getting 7 to 8 hours. There's no way. How am I going to do that? And then you don't even start anywhere. So I want you to look at where you're currently at and then maybe commit to adding 30 minutes more or even an hour more of sleep each night to that. This is how we start slow. We start at the minimum baseline and we build on it. This is how you build safeguards in to allow yourself space to do the things you want to do for self-care. Maybe it's meditating 5 to 10 minutes each day. Okay. Where can you put that in your schedule so that it resonates with you, so that you make sure you're going to do it? Nothing's going to be able to interrupt or overtake that unless it's a true emergency. Build it in a way that it's really hard for you to fail at accomplishing this commitment to yourself. So how else can you build it into your life? Maybe give yourself an hour every 2 to 3 days to do whatever you want, whatever your little heart desires. Yes, even if this means doing nothing at all, it's okay. And I want you to notice if this is really hard for you to do. So why is it hard for you to do? Are you telling yourself you're wasting time? Are you telling yourself there's so many other things that need to get done? Look at the stories that are going through your mind if you have a lot of resistance to this. And maybe if you notice that you do have a lot of resistance, build something else in that gives yourself a brain break. How can you build in playtime in this hour? Maybe playing with your pets or your kids, doing board games. What can you do that will completely make your brain get that rest? That's what we're trying to do here. Because when we play or when we take that break, our minds get a mental reprieve from our day-to-day hustle. And that's what we need to recharge ourselves. And then lastly, I want you to challenge any guilt that comes up. Notice if your brain is trying to convince you that you can't prioritize yourself because it's just not as important. Notice this. And if you're doing that, I want you to ask yourself why. Would you say that to your child? What are you making it mean about you if you're choosing to rest? I'm going to say it took me a while to make this shift for myself initially because this is the hustle culture that we are brought up with. And we don't seem to recognize until oftentimes it's too late that we need to slow down. We have to recognize that prioritizing ourselves isn't selfish. It's actually selfless. When you take care of yourself first, you do have more energy and effort to give to others. You're more present, you're more energized, and you're more effective in everything you do. All right, so let's recap. Laziness, you can distinguish it because it holds you back, whereas rest moves you forward. If you're not producing results, it's worth checking in with yourself. Are you resting only after your work complete, i.e., rarely if ever? Or are you avoiding discomfort, which means you're maybe shifting into laziness? When you don't feel like doing something, but you do it anyway, you start to build trust with yourself and prove that you can notice and then push through any resistance. And when you prioritize self-care as being essential rather than optional, you get to put yourself first so you show up fully for everything and everyone else in your life. The goal isn't to work yourself into the ground. It's to work intentionally, rest intentionally, and create a life where you feel both accomplished and replenished. All right. I hope this might be the incentive to maybe build in a few tactics or safeguards into your life where you're prioritizing your rest, your self, me, care time. And that doesn't mean a mani and pedi. I've said that so many times. If it resonated with you today, I would love to hear your thoughts. Send me a message. Let me know what stands out for you. Let me know what seems hard to do, what you can't implement. And I also want to mention the Circle of Six 2.0 is underway right now, and we are having an absolute blast. I am pausing the group for the summer so I can be intentional and spend time with my kids and my family. And that being said, Circle of Six 3.0, the next cohort, will be launching this fall. So consider that if you want to maybe explore these concepts even deeper. And lastly, if you're interested in meeting up with me live, I am excited to announce that I'm going to be a speaker at Thought Leaders Week at Miraval in Tucson, Arizona this June, and I would love for you to join me there. We'll put a link in the show notes so you can learn a little bit more about this amazing, amazing place for self-care, which I highly recommend you consider doing for yourself. All right, until next time, keep striving for that balance between pushing forward and recharging. You've got this. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of From Pissed Off to Poised. Remember, transformation is a journey, not a destination. So enjoy the ride. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review From Pissed Off to Poised on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback supports my mission to get this podcast out to help other women physicians and professionals like you on their path to creating a more peaceful life with more intention and more joy. I enjoy reading every message I get with your input and feedback on my journey, so keep them coming. And if you have a friend who might enjoy the listen, please share this episode and share with them. Lastly, if you want to learn more about my coaching programs and course offerings, check out my website at www.thoughtworkmd.com. Feel free to reach out to me to learn more about investing in yourself through one-to-one coaching so you can start living the life you've always wanted. This show is for general educational and entertainment purposes only. Life coaching is not a substitute for therapy or medical treatment.